Let's check on these worms and see what's going on. In our paper bag, got at least one worm on the top. Put him off to the side too. Yep, actually, there's another one there. And that bag is already developing a hole in it. So let's fold this up. Put this off to the side for a moment. We'll check on last week's feeding. Here's part of it right there on the top. Now, we have been adding new bedding to all this, and I did not blend the food last week, so it looks like we have a fair amount of food still in here. So we'll do a smaller feeding this week since they didn't finish all that. I have not blended the food this week either. So lots of worm activity in this area. Lots of worms. All right, well, let's dig a little bit of it out. We'll add a little bit more feeding to it. So I got a banana that went over. I have some carrots, asparagus, and some rice, and some mushrooms. We'll give them that. Since they didn't finish all the food from last week, that's all I'm going to give them for this week. And then next week, I think I'll make sure I do blend the food. And we'll put the bag back on the top over here. Now I want to pull out some of these castings on this side. You know, I've been trying to let them dry out a little bit. So they're not quite as dry as I want them to be yet. But I think I'll go ahead and harvest some of these, put them into another tote where they can dry out more and I can kind of search out more of the worms. That should be good enough for this harvest, combined with what I did last time. And I will add some new bedding over in this area. So we got some paper towel, along with some leaves, and some roots from my hydroponic lettuce. Get that in there. And then I just kind of stir up some of this other casting material that I'm not harvesting today. And just kind of mix it in with all those leaves so that the biology gets in there and starts breaking all that down. And the worms that are still left in this spot will have a new home. All right, let's move on to the mariner bin. As I was going through the castings I pulled out, I came across a couple of these really little worms. I'm guessing these are only maybe a day old. So I caught those. They can go back in this bin. For the marinara bin, we'll take out the plastic on the top. We're going to be harvesting this bin pretty soon. So once we're done today, I will not be putting the plastic or the paper back on top so that the castings dry out a little bit. And we have some worms here on the bottom. Okay, if I remember correctly, we fed on this side last week. So let's take a look. Yeah, this is that new bedding and stuff I put in here. Let's see, yep, there's a little bit of the food left over. We have maybe not a worm ball, but a worm party. Along with some more there on the paper. Put them all to the side for a moment so we can check on the rest of it. Yep, lots of worm activity in this area, where the feeding was. Lots of worms in there. Now the worms are young, but in another month or so, I'd say at least half of these will be mature. And then in 2 months, they should all be mature for anything that's already moving around. Okay, so I'm going to put this paper back on this side for a moment, along with that little bit of food. And we'll go back to feeding on this side. Since this is the side I went the longest with not feeding. And I'm going to move a lot of this material over to the side here so that it can start drying out. And I'll get some new bedding in and begin a new worm migration. There. This will be all the material I'm going to harvest probably in 2-3 weeks. So we'll add lots of fresh bedding in here. This is all leaves from outside. I have a leaf bin outside where I make leaf mold, and I have extra bin space where I can just keep extra leaves. And we'll get all that new bedding in place. And right in the middle of that is where we'll do this week's feeding. So I have another half a banana, add some mushrooms, another handful of the bag. So this is rice, asparagus, we got some peas in there, potato skins, lime peel, and some carrot. And we'll put a little bit of bedding on top of that. Okay. And then I am going to put some of the castings on top because I want to maintain the biology in this bin. The easiest way to do that is have the existing biology inoculate the new material. I'm not going to put the paper or the plastic on either side so that the bin has a chance to kind of air out and dry out a little bit. And these are the castings I'm looking to harvest in a couple of weeks. I will put my normal cover, the tote cover on top. So we'll check in with you next week and we'll see how the worms are doing then.